Hi everyone, I'm Courtney. Today, I'm going to talk about when I lived in Hawaii. My dad was in the military, so I moved around a lot as a kid. When I was 9 to when I was 12, my family and I lived in Hawaii. Hawaii is a state in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Hawaii is a group of islands. There are 8 main islands in the state of Hawaii. I lived on an island called Oahu. Oahu is where the capital of Hawaii, Honolulu, is located. I lived in 2 different places on the island of Hawaii. At first, I lived on a Marine Corps base. I lived in a group of houses with other Marine Corps families. The Marine Corps is a type of military in the US. But we found out that in the walls there was asbestos. In the past, when people used paint to paint their walls, the paint had a chemical called asbestos. In the old days, people didn't know that asbestos was a harmful material, so they used it in the paint in the walls in houses. Well, we found out our house had asbestos. Asbestos is damaging to your health. So, after a year of living at the Marine Corps base, my family and I moved to another base. We moved to the Army base. The Army base was in the middle of a valley. When it rained, our backyard would flood. It rained almost every day, but sometimes it didn't rain enough to flood our backyard. I loved to play frisbee when I lived in Hawaii. I loved to play frisbee. I loved to play football. I loved to play Nerf with my friends. I didn't really play with a lot of girls when I lived in Hawaii. I mostly played with the boys. I had 2 main friends that were boys, and we would always play together. In Hawaii, I also liked to catch geckos. Geckos are tiny lizards, and my friends and I would try to catch them. And one time, I had a gecko on my nose the whole day. One time, I put a gecko on my nose, and the gecko just chilled on my nose pretty much all day. Another thing I liked to do in Hawaii is go sledding. Typically, when you go sledding, there's snow. But my friends and I would take cardboard boxes and we would use them to slide down the hills in the grass. We would use them to slide down the hills behind my house. It was really fun. I really liked to go to the community center. The community center was a place where kids could go to hang out after school, and we would go to the community center and play garage band or rock band, something like that. And we would go and we would play. There was a guitar, there was a drum, there was a microphone to sing, and I was always the singer. I wanted to play guitar, but my friends always wanted me to be the singer. In Hawaii, I also had a lot of opportunities to learn Hawaiian culture. I thought that as a kid, this was something very normal. But obviously, it's very specific to Hawaii. I had a Hawaiian studies class. I learned a few Hawaiian songs. I still know most of the lyrics to the songs, but I don't know what they mean, just the words. And we went on field trips to places like the Polynesian Cultural Center, where we learned all about different types of culture in the Polynesian Triangle. And I also went to the Bishop Museum, which is a children's science museum. One of the interesting things they had at the Bishop Museum was a display that showed how volcanoes are made. It had wax coming out of a hole in a table. The wax kept coming out of the hole. The wax was melted, and as the wax cooled, it created a volcano. The layers of the wax created a volcano. I thought this display was so cool as a kid, and I know that even as an adult, I would think it's really cool. When I lived in Hawaii, we also went to the beach. The beach was really fun. There were different types of beaches. My favorite beach was a beach called Kaneohe Bay. The area my family went to was for military families only, but I think there are other parts that are open to the public. Another beach that I really loved was at a resort. I can't remember the name of the resort, but it had different pools. It had different pools where the ocean came in. The ocean came in, and you could go snorkeling, you could go swimming, you could relax on the beach. It was just fun to hang out on the beach. And I remember one time my sister stepped on a sea urchin. My sister stepped on a sea urchin, a spiky creature in the ocean, and she had to have the sea urchin removed from her foot. It was kind of painful. I loved my time living in Hawaii. My family did a lot of fun things when we lived in Hawaii. We went hiking in Hawaii. We went hiking through the jungle, and I loved eating the guavas. The guavas grew on the bushes, and you could pick them off the bush and eat them fresh. I loved going on these jungle hikes, these tropical hikes. Another thing my family did that I remember is we went to the Dole Plantation. This is where the company Dole processes their pineapples. They grow and process pineapples to sell, and they allow people to come and tour their factory, their plantation. And so, one cool part about the Dole plantation is they have a maze made of pineapple. The maze is created out of the bushes that the pineapple grow on, and I think some other types of bushes as well. And the goal is to get through the maze the fastest. You also can taste a special type of ice cream called Dole Whip, and Dole Whip is a type of frozen yogurt that tastes like fresh pineapple. It's really good. I really, really liked my time at the Dole plantation. Another cool part about living in Hawaii is that sometimes we would go camping. We would go camping, but you had to watch out for the wild boars. A wild boar is a type of ferocious pig. The pigs are big, A boar is very big and it can be very dangerous because a boar can attack you. So, camping was fun, but we had to watch out for the wild boars. Another thing I loved about living in Hawaii is the food. There's a type of food called a manapua. It's a type of sweet bread with a filling inside, typically some sort of pork, but there are other flavors as well. There was also a mango tree in my neighbor's yard and an avocado tree in my yard. These are just a few memories I have of my time living in Hawaii. What do you think? Do you think you would want to live in Hawaii? What questions do you have about living in Hawaii? Let me know in the comments. I'm Courtney. Thanks for watching, and remember, if you want more videos like this to help you learn English, you can check out this one next. Bye!